Welcome to Bankless, where today we explore the frontier of the Kraken Layer 2. Ladies and gentlemen, Kraken is going on chain. There's a big announcement today. It's just breaking. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the Unichain, which is joining the Optimism Superchain. Well, now Kraken is announcing the launch of Ink, which is its on-chain Kraken experience. It is a layer 2. It's in the Optimism Superchain, and it's very exciting. We got all the details today. David, I just got to say, I'm super excited about this. You know, there'd been rumor that Kraken was going to launch a layer 2 for a while. We'd been like, prodding our folks at Kraken, the people we know, just be like, hey, you got any news? Got any news? Got any news? Apparently.
We knew it was coming. We just didn't know when or how. We just always knew it was inevitable.
Well, I was hoping it would be cool, is what I would say, and this exceeds my expectations. I think they've got a fantastic approach for it, and I'm very excited about their, what they're building, what they're architecting, and some of the dates around this.
I think this actually marks with the advent of Ink, Kraken's layer 2. There's extremely few large centralized exchanges or even medium-sized centralized exchanges left that do not have an associated blockchain. Of course, Binance has BNB. Coinbase has Base. Kraken now has Ink. OKX has a chain. Kronos has the ZK Sync chain.
Kronos is the Crypto.com one.
Crypto.com, yeah. Bybit created MANTLE. So actually, it's kind of cool. We got all the centralized exchanges on chain. It's like one of the best validations of like one of our earliest theses that we had in 2020. It's like all blockchain, all centralized exchanges, what is a centralized exchange? It is a bank. What's a bank? It's just a ledger. Well, they're going to use blockchains, which are just ledgers. And it's just one by one, we're just knocking them down.
And the crypto banks, or AKA the crypto exchange, are going to do this first. And then after, shall we make another prediction? Okay, so another prediction after this is all of the traditional banks will come on chain too. It won't be long until BlackRock rolls out its layer 2. And as crazy as that sounds now, okay, it sounded crazy for us to say back in 2020 that all exchanges would have their own L2s. And so they do. Here's the next evolution of that.
I think that the next step is, so right now they are creating an additional ledger. So they have the internal centralized ledger that they have of who owns what. Now they also have the layer 2 ledger. I want to see their people's layer 2s to start to internalize the business logic, take out the guts of the bank and put that on chain. We need some scalability. We need some privacy. We need some ZK for that. Because people don't want to have their internal business logic broadcasted. So we need to make that internal business logic private. But that's also the next step. So the race is on for that one.
It's part of the great migration. All right, guys, we're going to get right into the episode. But before we begin, we got to shout out and thank our sponsors who made this episode possible and support many Bankless podcasts.
Who made this episode possible in multiple ways. In all of the ways.
And now they are coming on chain. Couldn't be more excited. That is Kraken. If you don't have an account, go create an account today and go Bankless with Kraken.
If you want a crypto trading experience backed by world-class security and award-winning support teams, then head over to Kraken, one of the longest-standing and most secure crypto platforms in the world. Kraken is on a journey to build a more accessible, inclusive, and fair financial system, making it simple and secure for everyone, everywhere, to trade crypto. Kraken's intuitive trading tools are designed to grow with you, empowering you to make your first or your 100th trade in just a few clicks. And there's an award-winning client support team available 24/7 to help you along the way, along with a whole range of educational guides, articles, and videos. With products and features like Kraken Pro and Kraken NFT Marketplace and a seamless app to bring it all together, it's really the perfect place to get your complete crypto experience. So check out the simple, secure, and powerful way for everyone to trade crypto, whether you're a complete beginner or a seasoned pro. Go to kraken.com/bankless to see what crypto can be. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Tired of juggling multiple wallets and websites just to navigate Web3? Meet Magic Eden, the home of Web3. It is becoming a super DApp where you can do everything cross-chain all in one place. They're solving UX issues by building products across every chain ecosystem, swaps, borrowing and lending, NFTs, perps, and more, all seamlessly cross-chain. Instead of hopping between countless sites and handling multiple wallets, just use Magic Eden. Save time and get to the meme coining faster. Plus, the ME token is coming out this quarter from the ME Foundation. If you've used any of their protocols, like the NFT platform, you can claim some. So check out Magic Eden today and watch them become a super DApp and the home of Web3 in real time. You can get there at magiceden.io to get started. Imagine a future where AI and blockchain converge, where decentralized intelligence operates transparently with Web3 infrastructure, unlocking boundless human potential. And that future is here with Zero Gravity, the first decentralized AI operating system. Zero Gravity isn't just faster, it's 50,000 times faster and 100 times more cost efficient than current alternatives, unleashing the power of high data applications and modular AI. With unrivaled throughput, limitless scalability, and a verified AI framework, Zero Gravity is turning the dream of on-chain AI into reality. Curious about how AI and Web3 can reshape the future? You can visit zerog.ai to explore the infrastructure that's revolutionizing decentralized AI. Bankless Nation, super excited to introduce you to Ben Jones, the co-founder of Optimism, and Andrew Koller, the founder of Ink. But Andrew, what is Ink?
Ink is a new on-chain unit from Kraken. It started over a year ago. This really famous kind of long walk in Amsterdam with somebody I rehired, a very old friend. And we kind of just walked around for like 5 hours figuring out what the hell are we going to do with like taking Kraken on chain. So it started with all these different experiments and we didn't have a name for it. It was like Kraken Innovation Unit type of thing. And then we decided one day to just call it Kraken Ink because it's like there's cephalopods, you know, tentacles and ink and all that kind of stuff.
Of course.
So it's like you're writing your future with ink, and you know we're bringing that like easy to use experience that we have on our centralized platform, hopefully all on chain. So Kraken Ink is the evolution of all of our ideas and experiments into partnering with Optimism for the announcement today, which is that we are partnering with Optimism and launching our own superchain that is going to be very DeFi centric. And the testnet is at DevCon.
Ben, give us your side of the story here from the Optimism Superchain perspective. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, the story, this Andrew just hit it perfectly, I think. From our perspective, it's obviously a huge honor to have Kraken joining the collective and hopping on board to build on the Superchain. I think that we're at a point in time in the industry right now where we're getting lots of another L2 announcements. And I think the thing that, I feel a responsibility to ensure happens is that does not lead to chaos and fragmentation, right? So it is an honor to have Andrew and folks like him joining the Superchain. And it is also critical that in doing so, we don't turn into a big fragmented mess. We have all the people doing the best things that they can do in positive some ways that connect together into one cohesive thing. So yeah, what it means is another amazing member of the Superchain, another incredible, set of strengths that Kraken is bringing to the table. And at the same time, trying to ensure that as we perform this journey and we go down the roll-up centric roadmap towards many, many, many L2s, that the Superchain can play a part in helping unify and standardize those L2s.
Okay, very cool. I will say that Bankless has long held a thesis that all of the exchanges would eventually come on chain, and it sounds like that this is holding true. And this is Kraken's endeavor to bring a lot of its core business and some of its offerings on chain. So Andrew, I just want to go over what you said, and just by way of recap. So you are a representative, a leader of Ink, which is this a business unit within Kraken, or is it a separate entity? And you are bringing some, you're deploying on-chain functionality inside of the Kraken ecosystem. So, some people listening might think of something like a Base. I don't know if it's going to be similar to Base, different from Base, but this is a internal Kraken initiative. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's entirely a business unit within Kraken. You can kind of think of it as a separate entity. There's all kinds of structures that, were set up to make this happen. But it really is, it's similar to any other exchange or company, I think, that's trying to go on chain and realizing that there is the convergence like in the 90s. And this is like a really cliche analogy, and I think it's overplayed, but TCP/IP was the convergence in the 90s. I really think that all companies are going to be merging and doing things on chain. Obviously, centralized exchanges are the first to start doing this because we have our central order books and we have all of our users. We're going to start bringing all of the layers that let you authenticate into the centralized order books and everything that Kraken has to offer to on-chain. And I think other, say Coinbase or Zora and everybody else is kind of doing those immediate layers. But like I'm extremely bullish on this, that it's like it doesn't stop at centralized exchanges. It's like thousands of companies are going to be having their own L2s, banks, whatever it is. I hope there's a day we wake up and like NASDAQ is joining the Superchain. I have no idea. That would be really fun. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it is an entire business unit within Kraken, and it's really Ink and the wallet together. So we are kind of joining forces with our Kraken wallet, with Ink, and we're trying to see just across the whole stack, as it relates initially to DeFi, what we're going to bring on chain. But then, like I said, there's the authentication of the central order book and KYC and all that. There's no reason that shouldn't be on chain too.
Okay, so can we talk about some of those component pieces? So, of course, Kraken is most known for being a crypto exchange. So a way, as we say on Bankless, to sort of, onboard from fiat, across the chasm, and go into the kind of the crypto world. That's the centralized exchange piece. It's also true, Andrew, that Kraken has rolled out a wallet. So you have already an on-chain wallet that is like fantastic, great user experience, but that's basically starting to expose Kraken users to the on-chain ecosystem. So you've got that piece of it. You've got the exchange. You were mentioning some sort of authentication, kind of like credentialing, AML, KYC, and now you are rolling out Ink. And you said, would that be, did you say testnet or mainnet by DevCon?
Testnet, DevCon, I think mainnet is what we're targeting for early Q1.
Wow. Okay. So testnet, DevCon, mainnet, early Q1. So you're bringing all of these things together, and like, what is going to happen on Ink, do you think? I mean, is it sort of permissionless ecosystem where DeFi and other applications are invited to kind of like build things in the on the platform? Are you taking a different is there a different lens on this that Kraken sees? Like, what exactly are you putting on chain? What sort of apps are you hoping will be in this ecosystem?
Initially, it is inviting the world to build like their DeFi applications on chain. It's helping provide any kind of tooling that would make their experience easier. So it's initially kind of like laying this foundation of that we are incubating something that is going to allow any kind of builder. We also have a hacker house to do a little plug for DevCon, where people can use our tooling, work with our partners, partner with us, because we also have a little incubator that we're going to be doing and helping kind of like fund some of these projects that might want to build on Ink. But it's really taking like the easy to use UX that we have across Kraken right now and really bring that to the DeFi experience. So instead of having all the weird bridging and hops and multi approvals and things that DeFi users have to like live with, we really want to bring like that Kraken OG kind of cypherpunk and privacy and self-sovereignty values into the easy-to-use UX space.
When you pop open the hood, technically speaking, can you talk about the technicals of the actual chain? Like, what's the engine? What's it built on? I know we're using the OP stack, of course, because we're part of the Superchain, but like, can you go into any more detail?
Yeah, I mean, right out of the gate, like, it is OP stack. We do have to, be in the Superchain and be compliant with that. And, we have a ton of ideas for, improvements. So we definitely will be giving back to the community and making sure that we're core contributors, proposing anything that we think is good for our applications that could be going into governance. But we will be targeting less than, at least to start for mainnet, less than 1 second block times. We are leaning into 6783 for cross-chain intents. We're leaning into 7702 when that hits mainnet. So we're really taking like our foundation of like the wallet experience too, and moving that fully into smart wallets, fully into 7702, 4337. And, there's not too much modifications to the stack when we go live, really just kind of the block time and then focusing on these EIPs that haven't hit mainnet yet.
And then how is the relationship with the Kraken exchange going to synergize with Ink, the layer 2? I know that there's a bunch of moving parts here, right? We already talked about the wallet, but also the exchange is going to be like the big onboarding flow. I'm assuming there's going to be some special treatment versus all the other networks out there for Ink, right?
Maybe. It's kind of undecided, honestly, because we don't really view it as like competition. Like, we're not trying to compete with Zora. We're not trying to compete with Base or anybody. It's all the Superchain, and we just, like, again, kind of cliche, but we do view it as rising tide all ships, right? we are joining into an ecosystem where it is fully going to be interoperable. Liquidity is going to be shared everywhere eventually. So it's not like somebody trying to hoard everything and say like, this is the best chain out there. Of course, we're going to make a really awesome experience on our chain. But as far as the rest of like Kraken, I think we want to get our foundation out the door, make that really good tooling and UX, and then ensure that everything at Kraken eventually has like an on-chain component to it. We want to make sure that everybody is thinking of the on-chain perspective first. And, you know, how can we push the limits and make sure that our financial services and products go on-chain?
What would you say are the goals that you're trying to measure? Like, what are the KPIs? Are you trying to get active addresses? Are you trying to get TVL? What's the North Star that you guys are having and looking for to grow Ink? What does it mean to grow Ink?
I mean, to put simply, I think transacting users. We want to, like I said, we want to take our easy to use experience and just push that as hard as we can into DeFi. You know, huge shout out to like Zora and Infinix. Like those are beautiful projects that have you know, a lot of good ideas that, you know, we want to collaborate with and kind of do some of our own flavors of that. So I think like for KPIs, it would be transacting users if I had to put it specifically. But it started a year ago in very much an experimental phase. Like we did dozens of test nets. We were trying every stack out there. We were having fun with zero knowledge proofs, making our own like, you know, proof checkers and all this kind of stuff. And we eventually landed on joining Ben and doing the Superchain. And, you know, that's the kind of like all of our experiments coming true. And then what can we experiment on Ink going forward?
So why the Superchain, Andrew? Why'd you land on that after exploring lots of other alternatives in the L2 space?
Because Ben has long hair. Like you,
Long hair.
I had to join in.
For the podcast listeners, we have two gentlemen with some fantastic flow, and the flow goes so low below the camera that I don't know. I think it's actually about the same length.
It's the same.
Yeah, you guys, yeah,
very bullish.
Great flow. Yeah.
We're anti-haircut at Kraken.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, why Superchain? I just like no bad ill on any other, you know, stack out there. I think, like I said, we had so much fun experimenting with everybody else. ZK Sync, Arbitrum. It was fun running all of their kind of test nets and everything. It's just, we saw like a lot of other people wanting to join the Superchain. We really enjoyed the roadmap of interoperability. And it's not just interoperability within the Superchain. Like I love seeing all the proposals of like not ignoring everybody else that's outside of that. So to me, it just felt like this makes a lot of sense. We have a really good launch partner. The stack is like, you know, a non-developer can go use Cursor and like run the OP stack in like a second, right? Like you just spawn that thing up and you're seeing how Ethereum works. And we felt that experience and we just wanted to join in on that.
Very cool. So, you know, a few different roadmap items that I think are relevant to Ink now, like when you go to testnet and then mainnet, you like one is the L2 beat sort of stages of decentralization. And I'm imagining you're starting at like a stage 0. But what's the plan to progress to kind of stage 1 to stage 2? Do you have any thoughts on this?
We have like high level plans. Like ultimately the goal is to fully decentralize. We don't want to be the only sequencer operator at all, but like we just kind of have like a rough outline. And I think once we hit mainnet, we want to publish like actual timelines and how we want to decentralize this. Pretty rough timelines because it's a difficult task. But yeah, we don't want to be the sole operator. To start, it's going to be like level 0 or stage 0.
So the plan is to decentralize, get as close to, you know, like stage 2 or end up in stage 2 at some point in time, and also have some path to decentralize your sequencer as well. Is that in the cards?
Yep, we want to fully decentralize the sequencer. I don't know what that looks like. You know, everything is like high level plans. Like, does that look like we have, you know, a DAO? Do we have governance? I don't know on how we do that exactly. But that's been top of mind even before we started exploring the Superchain. It's just like, we really want to lean into like the OG Kraken values. Like I said, it's the self-sovereignty. I have always viewed us, and this is why I joined, I've always viewed us as like the OG cypherpunks in the space. And we want to stay true to those values.
Badass. That's great. Okay, cool. How about another scaling function is, you know, the quest to get to gigagas in terms of, you know, scaling actual execution performance. And we've seen many OP stack kind of communities on that path, adding a little bit more every week. My understanding of this is kind of rough, but like it's sort of an infra type of initiative, some engineering, some DevOps required to get there. What's the plan for scaling to gigagas levels and beyond?
So initially, it's I can definitely shout this out because we're announcing today. Gelato is one of our launch partners, and so we're working really closely with Gelato on helping us with all infrastructure. And we're going to be plugged in to, like, we already worked with them to do sub-second block times. So it's anything with gas optimizations, we're going to be plugged in with them. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Ben.
Yeah, I would love to. I think quite frankly, I think that this line of questioning is exactly where I feel super excited for the Superchain to innovate and like help Andrew out. And like, quite frankly, in many ways, the goal of the collective and the goal of the Superchain is to make all of these infrastructural scaling questions much less sexy than I think they have historically been treated. The reality is that like Andrew is an OG cypherpunk trying to bring, a huge centralized exchange on chain, has his hands full across every layer of the stack as it is. And ultimately, what we need to do as an industry is move up the stack away from these low-level innovations and towards building fantastic products that, to Andrew's point, brings the world on chain and brings many users on chain, not just the power users, not just the people who are willing to understand how all of these, seed phrases and UX and network switching and RPCs and all of these things work, So one of the very important things for us in the Superchain is to balance standards so that there is a ground of truth across the Superchain that Andrew doesn't have to think about, that Andrew's users don't have to think about, that just work. So for example, you asked a question about stage 1 earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew should have to do very little to get Ink to stage 1. Optimism has built the Security Council to do it. We've built the standards to do it. We've built the governance processes to govern stage 1 chains. The Superchain will bring a bunch of chains to stage 1 into 2025. And the goal is for that not to be some massive one-off contrived process, but is to work across the industry for all of the chains that are benefiting from the shared standards in the Superchain. And, the same goes for things like the gas limits that you were talking about as well. There's a very important balance to also give what we call chain governors like Andrew the space to be able to make decisions about things like sequencing, because you don't see a universally applicable set of standards there. But when you hear we want a lot of throughput on our chains and we want a lot of decentralization on our chains, anything that I can take that is uncontroversial that Andrew and all of the folks that are running chains in the Superchain wants should just be magically complete for him. And that's like very much the goal of the Superchain. It's also the primitive on which we build interoperability. So yeah, that would be kind of a...
This is kind of to Andrew's comment of rising tide lifts all boats in the Superchain ecosystem. It sounds like that's really what you're striving to. I want to make one just general comment about why this is so exciting, like to me. And Bankless listeners may have gone back to an A16Z State of Crypto report where there were some stats thrown out there. And this is the most interesting stat. So Ben, you were just talking about bringing a large centralized exchange on chain. Okay. The total market of crypto asset holders right now, centralized exchange and others, is something like 530 million. Like, those are users by holders worldwide. And there's only a tiny subsection of those users that are on chain today. So A16Z's estimates were like between 20 and 30 million. So that delta, all of the rest, that 500 million or so, are basically within our funnel of like moving them from not just a centralized exchange where they hold crypto asset to actually come on chain. That really is the opportunity for Ink, for the Superchain, for layer 2s, for Ethereum, for the wider crypto community, is convert holders to actual on-chain users. And this is the massive white space that crypto has, an expansion area that we have, is bring the world on chain.
Yeah. And it's like I said, it's just to make it stupidly simple to use, right? Like that's, I've been in crypto since early 2015, and just found Antonopoulos' Mastering Bitcoin book and like read it inside out, and it's quite frankly it's been a shitty experience since, right? Like it hasn't. We're bridging everywhere. We're doing all this, seed phrase storing and stuff like that, and people lose it. We all know the story, but Yeah, it's if we can bridge that delta and just attract more easy to use experiences like this, where again, like you're taking like your whole life and what you do on in the real life for like taxes and mortgage and all these different things. If you're bringing all of that on chain, we can absolutely do that with Ink and the Superchain.
Ben, something I want to lean into. I really like the idea here of the Superchain having this like universal upgrade mechanism where all of the Optimism Superchain chains all upgrade seamlessly at once, reduces the fragmentation, reduces security fragmentation. And I think from the user's perspective, I think people are kind of looking for like, well, when is the UX fragmentation going to disappear? And that's been like one of the core promises of like the Superchain ever since the Superchain was announced. And I think like even all the other like layer 2 frameworks are kind of all working their own secret like Manhattan project for how to reduce fragmentation inside of their own standard, right? Like ZK Sync has their elastic chain, which promises to reduce the fragmentation inside of the elastic chain. The Superchain has been promising to do this for a while. Since we have you here, can you like kind of let us into like the Manhattan project that Optimism has been building? What's the secret sauce that you guys got that's going to reduce the fragmentation of the Superchain and make the Superchain one single seamless experience? Because notably the Superchain is singular, not super chains. It's super chain. And so when does that experience come into play for the users?
The alpha is always on GitHub, David. I think the first thing that I would say is like,
I don't know how to look at GitHub.
I'm a strongly object to. No, well, I mean, really, I'm a strongly object to like Manhattan Project because everything that the OP Stack and Optimism as a collective does is out in the open. So go to specs.optimism.io or the specs repo, go to the protocol R&D Discord. You will see everything being developed out in the open, in public, and that includes arguments and mistakes and the whole 9 yards, right? And so, while maybe we're not in, maybe that like we lose in some adversarial mindset, some ability for like alpha that I could uniquely like drop here only if I wanted to and if I felt it was comfortable. That's not the goal of Ethereum. The goal of Ethereum is to like bring the world on chain, and like the best way to do that is to release everything as open source and build a community around it. So. Okay, yeah, go ahead. But that's my caveat, and then I'll answer the question.
Okay, so yes, this transparent, inside out, open Manhattan project.
There. Okay. Okay. Fine.
What is it? And is there like a timeline that we can expect for it?
So again, it's all in the open. I would encourage you to go make your own timeline judgments as you go see things evolving. What I'll say is that the core insight that we have had is that standardization is key. So in the same way that my goal and the collective's goal is to make folks like Andrew's life easier on the infrastructure side so they can focus on bringing their users on chain and solving all of the horrible things that will allow like my mom to use crypto super seamlessly in a way that's not, directly in my wheelhouse other than like spending hours with her, right? The key insight that you start with is that standardization enables a stronger degree of interoperability. So the key kind of concern that you have when you're trying to make a seamless network of chains is kind of exactly what you alluded to, David, which is that security matters. And anytime that you introduce fragmentation in security, you introduce another hop that developers have to think about. You introduce another hop that wallets have to think about being responsible in how they show things. You introduce an economic efficiency that bridges have to like deal with, right? For example, we have a 7-day withdrawal period for the fault proofs that introduces economic inefficiency if you don't do it right. So once you have a shared standard that everybody follows, that is governed together, and that follows a shared security model, the next step is to make those chains interoperate. And there are lots of awesome initiatives that are happening across Ethereum to make Ethereum chains interoperable. And of course, we're working strongly to make sure that all of those things come to Ethereum and to the Superchain and in a way that's compatible with the rest of the ecosystem. But fundamentally, I think the core insight that we have that is, if you want to call it the Manhattan Project Alpha, even though it's all freely available, ultimately comes down to the same thing that allows folks like Andrew to focus on bringing awesome shit to market and not dealing with a bunch of infrastructural, cruft, is the exact same thing that brings interoperability forward. So for example, Superchain ERC20 is a Superchain-wide standard that you can use that is meant to enable like zero slippage fungible assets to move across different chains in the superchain. This is an extremely powerful primitive. You can build things like it across the boundaries of security, but ultimately it is within a cohesive model and unit of security that you can really get that economic efficiency and truly have like the, slippage-free, bridgeless bridging kind of experience that I think we're all dreaming of. So yeah, anyway, I don't want to ramble for too long. Honestly, just the core insight is let folks have a unified security model. And once you have that, you can build much more powerful interoperability on top. And so that's kind of the core of the interoperability roadmap for the superchain. That's how we go from 7 days to move assets and send messages as developers across chains, down to a matter of seconds. And it's how you do it without causing, big mistakes on the security front or, the next bridge hacks of 2024, 2025.
I got to call out on the removal of the 7 days or reducing that. That was like one of the first questions that we asked you guys was, okay, it's 7 days, it's optimistic rollup. How can we plug in our own proofs or something like that? And it was awesome because that was already in the works of like, okay, there's going to be eventually some kind of modular proof system. So anybody can, bring your own proof type of thing, or have your own like proof as a service or something if you wanted. And then you could do, whatever you wanted on the superchain.
Yeah, the 7 days thing is that, because it's an optimistic rollup, obviously, if you were going to like bridge with like full kind of like fraud proofs to Ethereum, there would be a 7 day sort of wait. Would that also be true in the default state for like moving from Kraken, back to Ink and, back and forth? You sort of have to wait 7 days in the default?
For like from the centralized exchange to Ink?
Yeah. Well,
so that we fortunately have all of our centralized liquidity that we can kind of do some magic on and move some stuff around. So people could, if you wanted to get from Ink to, say another chain on the superchain and you don't want to go through some bridge mechanism on chain, you could use Kraken as like a hop. As like your own bridge to then instantly go to another chain right now. I think ideally that's not like the future, and we don't always have centralized exchanges as like the hop to do that kind of stuff because it does get kind of funky, managing the liquidity across those. Ideally, that's all just instantly on-chain.
New projects are coming online to the MANTLE Layer 2 every single week. Why is this happening? Maybe it's because MANTLE has been on the frontier of Layer 2 design architecture since it first started building MANTLE DA, powered by technology from EigenDA. Maybe it's because users are coming onto the MANTLE Layer 2 to capture some of the highest yields available in DeFi, and to automatically receive the points and tokens being accrued by the $3 billion MANTLE treasury in the MANTLE reward station. Maybe it's because the MANTLE team is one of the most helpful teams to build with, giving you grants, liquidity support, and venture partners to help bootstrap your MANTLE application. Maybe it's all of these reasons all put together. So if you're a dev and you want to build on one of the best foundations in crypto, or you're a user looking to claim some ownership on MANTLE's DeFi apps, click the link in the show notes to getting started with MANTLE. The Uniswap wallet is officially the preferred wallet of Bankless, and it's the one we use anytime when we want to transact on-chain. Whether you're on your browser or on the go, Uniswap wallet makes it easier than ever to swap anytime, anywhere. Use your wallet to transfer funds directly from a top centralized exchange and tap from thousands of tokens across Ethereum and over 10 other chains like Base, Arbitrum, and Optimism. Uniswap wallet delivers deep liquidity, fast execution, and reliable quotes with zero gas swaps through Uniswap X. And when it comes to security, you can rest easy knowing it's backed by Uniswap Labs, one of the most trusted teams in DeFi. Their code is open source and independently reviewed, so you know it's protected. So why wait? Download the Uniswap wallet today on Chrome, iOS, and Android, and don't forget to claim your free uni.eth username directly in the mobile wallet. Start swapping smarter with Uniswap.
So I guess maybe a question on the Superchain, Ben. So if I'm like from a user perspective, and I know a lot of work is being done on standardization, shared security, these sort of things. But what I kind of want to know as a user is at the end of 2025, let's give it kind of like another year. So, Ink goes into prod, for Q1 2025. But let's recall, this has been a big month for Optimism and the Superchain. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the Uniswap chain, the Unichain becoming part of the Superchain. That was just an announcement a couple of weeks back. So now in the Superchain, you've got big sources of liquidity. You've got, Base, you've got the OP mainnet, you've got Zora, which has been mentioned. You've got like Uniswap, you have now Ink here, you have World Chain. There's a lot of different pieces here, right? And so what I sort of want as a user is at the end of 2025, I'm not looking for all to us to fix fragmentation across all of Ethereum yet and all of the other ecosystems outside of the superchain. But when I'm in the superchain and I'm using a wallet that is connected to any one of these, like, dozens of chains inside of the superchain, and perhaps, more than that soon, I want it to feel like one chain. Like I'm just like the way Ethereum mainnet used to feel is just like I'm on mainnet and everything is accessible and my wallet looks good. So I don't have to like, oh, I've got this asset over on this chain, this asset, and that looks good.
Yep.
And if I want to move from like one place to the other, it's just like this. It's not a whole like bridge and then you do the thing. And it all feels like one seamless chain, including the liquidity. I want to tap into, if I make a trade on a DEX somewhere in super chain world, and like I shouldn't have to know. It should be abstracted as to what chain I'm on, and I should get the best price across all of these chains. How close will we be to that vision by the end of 2025, do you think?
Talk to me in a few weeks when we look into test nets, baby. Like Ryan, come, and also like, can you come join the Optimism Collective marketing unit? Like, that is the goal. So, timelines are hard. I don't want to commit to some timeline here. I think on the timelines you're talking about, there are very big strides that we can make on this problem. The core of the interoperability work that is being done in the collective right now, this open source Manhattan project, as it were, David, is to enable exactly that. It's saying, what is the first bite towards unifying Ethereum that we can take that's reasonable? Well, if all of those chains, World Chain, Base, Ink, Unichain, are all on a shared standard, they're all stage 1 with a shared governing layer via the Security Council and Optimism governance, then the first thing that we can do is enable, I would even say, feels like one chain. It should like feel like one internet, or you shouldn't even know that it's a chain, right? But the goal is to get assets moving across there basically at a 2-block latency. So depending on the block times, like that's under 10 seconds easily. And so that is explicitly the goal. If you go to the specs and look at and poke around the GitHub really hard, that's what you'll see happening. You'll see Superchain ERC20 assets. You can actually go to SuperSim right now, which is our like local superchain testing environment where you can spin up multiple chains being simulated on your machine. And you can use the Superchain ERC20 standard and move those assets between chains really, really, really quickly. So obviously there's a long journey in terms of like working through those standards and ensuring they're good for application developers in a way that we're really confident can ship to mainnet. Obviously there's work to be done in what does the story look like that it requires fewer button clicks than you might see if you go to the GitHub today and move assets across those chains. But it is absolutely the point is to, within the boundaries of that super chain, make all of the liquidity and assets seamless. And like ultimately the goal, like Andrew said before, is a rising tide lifts all boats. And guess what? It is going to be a lot easier for those rising tides to lift each other's boats if it doesn't take 1 week to move across the different chains in the super chain. And so, yeah, you pitched it yourself. That is the focus. And that's what we're doing.
Andrew, pretty recently, maybe just last week or 2 weeks ago, Kraken introduced Kraken BTC, of which we're calling Cracked BTC here at Bankless.
Nice.
What's the synergy? Is there any synergy between Cracked BTC and Ink? Y'all gonna put the Cracked BTC on the chain?
Oh yeah. I mean, the home for it right now is OP mainnet, but yeah, we will definitely deploy it immediately to Ink. I think it's the first of many explorations in taking some of our best in class custody solutions. We have our own qualified custody products, so we can at least custody the underlying assets really safely. I designed that whole system, so I know it's nice and sound.
Oh, beautiful.
So yeah, it's like first in many experimentations. I think we want to lean into like where can we plug this into our easy to use stuff on Ink, and what other assets can we explore that we want to bring to the superchain. I can't say which ones, but like there's definitely others we're trying to explore.
Certainly. And just curious, Andrew, if there was a ticker symbol to go with this chain, what would it be? Would it be ticker sign Ink?
Okay, absolutely no plans to do any kind of token or anything like that. So I do have to put that disclaimer. But we like internally, I mean, we love the name Cracked. Cracked BTC or Cracked or something, or like a little bit more inappropriate is like people internally have said like kink. And we don't, I don't know if we want to lean into that. There could be like, I mean, there could be a lot of memes for it. So,
Right.
but no plans for anything like that.
Okay, not at this present
I
moment.
think when you go into their Discord, instead of saying GM, you've got to say, "What's cracking?"
It's cracking.
Yeah.
This is
I mean, we built a big team of cracked engineers, so like we should probably lean into it.
nice. One thing that I think is interesting, and I'm wondering about some prognostication from both of you guys in terms of what the Superchain Economic Zone, as we're calling it, like might end up looking like, because it's sort of interesting where you have like this this melting pot of I guess different chains, and I'm wondering how generalized they will be versus how specialized. Like, so you look at something like Zora, and it seems like they are specializing very much in kind of the creator economy. And you have to kind of wonder what Uniswap is going to do. It has to be something core around liquidity and exchange and DeFi. And then you look at like Base, and it's doing a little bit of everything, including some of the same things that the OP mainnet is doing. And now you have Ink on there too. And so I sort of wonder if we're going to get chains that specialize in unique areas, like, oh, this chain does this specifically, or if there's going to be like a lot of, apps that are repeated across all of the chains where just like we're all kind of generalized and doing a little bit of the same thing with some overlap. I'm not sure how that's all going to work out, but one of the interesting things, and you mentioned it earlier, Andrew, is it creates like this nice, infinite game, kind of like a better coordination mechanism for everybody who is inside of the Superchain on the Ethereum ecosystem. So somebody that would formerly probably in the exchange world be viewed as a competitor, and maybe there's some, like we want to get market share from Coinbase and Kraken. Now what's good for Ink is also good for Base, and what's good for Base is good for Ink. And that's kind of a different, I guess, coordination setup from two traditional competitors, I would say. Now you're all together working towards some shared purpose and shared goal, and maybe the war becomes against everyone who's not on chain, right? Anyway, I'm throwing a lot of things out there, but my basic question is, what do you think this crazy Superchain Economic Zone, where do you think that's going to end up? Like, do you have any sense for this? Maybe I'll throw this to Ben first, since you've been there since kind of like day one. What do you think this will end up looking like?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I think you hit the nail on the head with the positive sum. What benefits one benefits all. I think in many ways, like there's a much more smooth-brained decision that Andrew could have made here, which was to not take that approach and kind of take the more like traditional Web 2. It's our boat that needs to go up, not the tide that lifts them all. And I really, really respect what Andrew and Kraken and his team have done in making that decision. And I think really like making it to the other side of the bell curve on time in terms of the kind of like dumb competition crypto Twitter games that you might see out in the wild. To speak out, by the way, Superchain Economic Zone, SEZ, fascinating. I've never heard that one. So I think first of all, there's no question that composability is a key property of Ethereum that makes it different. And I think I actually spend a lot of time repeating this story because in many ways, before we have really scaled blockchains, that kind of gets forgotten because throughput is limited. And so things get congested and prices go up. But actually, I think if you compare like how the internet works and Web 2 architectures work to Web 3 architectures, one of the undeniable superpowers is the nature of composability, and that anybody can write any application that implements and that interacts with any other application, and they can all kind of follow their own rules and connect together, right? Compare what it takes to like integrate two websites that do like offer different services on the internet. It's like tens of millions of dollars, months of legacy integration work versus writing a smart contract that interacts with another smart contract, right? It's just night and day. There's a superpower here where everybody can permissionlessly innovate on top of everybody else. And so I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that's going away. In fact, I think that's just going to come more and more to the forefront. And so to answer your question about, what is the degree of specialization? Are there going to be apps that are everywhere versus on one place? I think it's going to be a mix. There's no question that some apps, superpowers, will be integrating on top of other ecosystems and other applications, and those ecosystems and applications may be spread over different chain IDs. And the best way for those folks to serve their users and customers is to go across there. At the same time, I think things like culture and specific use cases are also going to specialize across different areas of the superchain. In the same way that we see, more connected money Lego hubs on Ethereum L1, and then more connected NFT hubs on Ethereum L1, and they're all sitting on Ethereum L1, but the degree of connection within those ecosystems is where those applications are good at composing. So anyway, maybe there was a second part of the question that I'm missing there, but I think the core answer is like everything's going to compose. There's going to be basic utilities and things like that make sense to go everywhere. I'm also incredibly excited for, again, folks like Andrew and Ink to be able to focus on some of their core things that they can do uniquely well and not have that be in contrast or not that be an opportunity cost against all of the awesome things happening in the rest of the ecosystem. And especially as you move down that, or move it forward through the tech tree of interoperability, and now across chains, you can send a message in, 2 seconds, and those connect those things and everything composes together. It's going to be pretty dope. So I don't know. That was maybe a crazy Ben ramble. Go. Yeah. Thank God, Andrew. I'm glad.
I think Ben hit it there. Like it's, we have always viewed it as like, if you're doing some kind of trade or swap or something on Ink, we want to make sure that, all the summary of what Ben just said and what we've been talking about, if you do a swap on Ink, then you're tapping into liquidity somewhere else and the user has no idea. We want it, like, you could be tapping into liquidity in like 50 different locations and the user has no idea. That's kind of like, where we see the interoperability, but also your question on kind of like app specific or more general. I think it's just going to be a blend of everything. Yeah, Base might be more general. Zora is definitely, very NFT and art specific. We're going to be very DeFi specific. Unichain is the same. But as Ben said, like, I don't want to have to worry about a lot of the security and, all the upgrades and everything like that. We just want to take Kraken products and throw them on chain and then do our own unique flavor with that, which, some might look similar to some, protocols deployed on Base or deployed on Unichain or something. But hopefully, again, if we don't have to care about like the larger running a blockchain, then let's like put all of our talent into innovation and trying new things.
One of the analogies that we've started throwing around internally is to think about highways. So I don't know. I remember a number of years ago, David and Ryan, I was up here talking about the birth of the Optimism Collective, and back then there was only one chain. There was only OP mainnet, and we drew analogies between OP mainnet being a city and Optimism governance being, some of the like governing structures and economic zones of that city. And one of the ways you can think about interoperability is like draw an analogy between interoperability and the birth of the interstate highway system that allowed people to drive much longer distances in much less time due to the great infrastructure that had been developed as a public good. And, in some ways, it's almost as if, you see, it's like, oh my gosh, there are all of these roads connecting cities. I, as a big city, am concerned that folks are going to leave. I'm becoming competitive with these other cities. In fact, what you saw is that there was a birth of interstate commerce, which led to every city in the United States growing as soon as they got plugged into the interstate highway system. And it wasn't like, oh no, I'm concerned that everyone's going to start driving to my neighboring city to go like buy bread from a baker there, or like, that's not how it worked. What happened was that there was a positive sum outcome because interstate commerce blossomed and everybody got better and the economy got stronger. So, I think it's the same kind of story here. It's like you go to the bell curve and you're like, oh, interop doesn't work. Oh my goodness, now there's like weird competitive dynamics. Then you keep going down and you realize, no, the competitive dynamics are allowing people to specialize and do what they do best and benefit from everybody else doing what they do best. And so, yeah, that's just an analogy.
I think this kind of fits into what my understanding is of both the Ethereum like economic zone goals, the North Star, if you will, for all of these economic zones, but also Ethereum's North Star, which is just grow GDP, just grow the economy, make the on-chain economy the largest economy in the world. The internet is the burgeoning, developing economy that we all get to invest in, and whichever ecosystem grows their GDP the most is going to like win, but also take other GDPs with it as well. Ben, Andrew, this has been fantastic. Congratulations to the Superchain for getting another very large centralized exchange on chain. Andrew, congratulations to Kraken for making such a big leap into the world of the on-chain economy.
Well done.
It's been a long journey. Thank you.
Yeah, the on-chain announcements, the wallet, the Kraken BTC, Ink now. What any more? What else you guys having up your sleeve?
Okay, I will say that beginning in Q1, a lot of our development and everything is going to be out in the open. So like we really want, our wallet is already on GitHub. But like everything that we're doing, we want just completely out in the open. So as Ben was saying, like if you want alpha, you just go start read some code. Yeah.
You won't give it to me on the podcast. I have to go into the internet.
Do the work, David. Do the work.
Proof of work. Proof of work.
The new Claude will do it for you anyway.
Andrew, just one more time, give us the details on testnet and mainnet.
So today is the announcement of just the partnership of like what the hell Kraken is doing and why we moved on chain. Testnet comes out at DevCon. The entire Ink team is going to be there with a lot of other functions at Kraken, and we're going to be running a hacker house there. Have some of our partners come along and show off some of the tooling we've made and how people could build. And then mainnet, not a firm date, but definitely like early Q1. We just want to get this testnet out there, experiment, and then get it out there as early as we can.
So the testnet period of time is there a call for developers, for hackers? If you want to do something on Ink, then you like go talk to Andrew, or is there a link we can put in the show notes for this?
Yeah, so inkonchain.com is going to be the site. And it should be live any minute. And then there's Discord links, there's Twitter links, our Telegram. Telegram is just for announcements, but you can find me in Discord. You'll see Ink AK for my initials. You can ping me anytime there. I'm going to be very open to chat with any builder. Everybody else that's a spokesperson or a moderator in there, we all want to chat with builders. And so again, we also have this kind of incubator, incubator with a K, program that we're going to have. Yeah, come on. We have to lean into the Ink. So we're going to have that running too, where we really want some like projects that maybe haven't deployed yet to reach out and talk to us. And we want to incubate, as many as we can to get over to Ink.
That's awesome. This is great. So developers, go check that out. Ink on chain. Was it .com, Andrew?
.com, yep.
.com. So we'll have a link in the show notes. Go check that out. And of course, users, this will be available sometime in Q1. I just want to end with this, but just by saying, dude, David and I, we've been working with Kraken for a while. You guys have been supporting us as strategic sponsors. We're just like freaking proud of like how far you guys have come in kind of your Bankless journey and moving things on chain. I mean, the rollout of a non-custodial wallet was absolutely huge. Of course, Kraken has never failed, been there since, like 2012, proof of reserves the whole time. You never failed crypto. And now you're moving to kind of like, back development with, I think, your ethics and your ethos and your value system, which was getting more and more crypto native. And I've seen that trajectory from you. I had hoped for a long time, David and I had hoped for a long time that there would be a Kraken L2. And now there is. So you guys are doing a fantastic job. Well done. We're just proud to work with you guys.
I remember when we had Jesse on right after the collapse of FTX, and he was like, yeah, don't keep your money on centralized exchanges. And saying that as the founder of a centralized exchange, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And now there's a layer 2 for users to go put their money on, which all just, it all comes full circle.
Yeah. That's why so many people stay at Kraken for such a long time. We have so many OGs that have just been here for like a decade, and it's because of those values. And we don't view that as like this walled garden type thing. It's like, oh, go make crypto tradfi. I don't think a lot of us are about that. But yeah, one quick final thing is I remember back in ETH Denver earlier in the year, you guys both were hunting for some alpha from us. You're like, come on, give us something. Like what? We know you guys are doing something on chain. What is it? And we were just kind of like shy then of like, well, we're experimenting. I don't know. But yeah, it's been a fun journey, and we're finally here.
No, I mean, the time to announce is when you got like, testnet next week. So I mean, I think you're doing a good job there. So Andrew, Ben, this has been such a pleasure. Thanks for joining us today. Well, here we go. Got to end with this. None of this has been financial advice, but now we're going fully bankless with Kraken, which is pretty exciting. Got to let you know, crypto is risky. You could lose what you put in, but we are headed west. This is the frontier. It's not for everyone, but we're glad you're with us on the Bankless journey. Thanks a lot.